Bryce's best 10 great Super Bowls of all time. Here we go. We will start with the 10th greatest Super Bowl of all time, Super Bowl 47 between the Baltimore Ravens, who beat the San Francisco 49ers 34-31 on February 3rd, 2013. That's the Super Bowl 47 is the 10th greatest Super Bowl of all time, and here is why. So, for the record, this was actually the first Super Bowl I ever watched in my life. It's the first Super Bowl I ever predicted. Ravens, 49ers. It's a wonder I didn't become a fan of one of those teams. I almost became a Niners fan this past summer, but I opted to go with the Ravens' biggest rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. But this looked to be kind of a dud through the first 2.5 quarters. Because you have Baltimore blowing out San Francisco. At one point, Jacoby Jones caught a touchdown to end the half. Then to start the second half, had the longest kick return in, not Super Bowl history, NFL history, 109 yards to the house to put the Ravens up 28-6. And likely due to the great Beyonce's halftime performance, boom, the lights go out in New Orleans for about a half hour. Well, when the lights come back on, so do the 49ers. They storm back, pull to within 5. A pass by Colin Kaepernick to Michael Crabtree goes incomplete on 4th and goal from inside the 10-yard line. Could have been a pass interference, may have not have been. It's a debatable call, and there was a safety there at the end that didn't mean anything. So the Ravens were able to pull out this game. Ray Lewis went out a champion. Joe Flacco completed his January Joe resume, so to speak. His playoff numbers are off the charts. He's the Madison Bumgarner of the NFL. Joe Flacco won Super Bowl MVP, and the Ravens won their second Super Bowl title. Super Bowl 47 is the 10th greatest Super Bowl of all time. The 9th greatest Super Bowl of all time, Super Bowl 23 on January 22nd, 1989. The San Francisco 49ers beat the Cincinnati Bengals 20-16. Super Bowl 23, the 9th greatest Super Bowl of all time, and here is why. So this is the earliest Super Bowl we've got on this list. So none of the Super Bowls, the first ones, the 10s, early 20s here with San Francisco and Cincinnati. This happened to be the third championship that Montana, Walsh, Rice got 2 at that point, that the Niners won in their incredible dynasty run in the 1980s. Joe Montana down 16-13 in the fourth quarter, leads a drive down the field, throws a touchdown pass to John Taylor with under a minute to go to win the Super Bowl. It's the moment, that and the catch, of Joe Montana's career. That one to me, at least, again, I wasn't alive during that time, 1989, but that, for a lot of people, I think, was what put Joe. It was like, okay, that's the greatest quarterback of all time. Of course, Brady would surpass him a couple of decades later in virtually all of our eyes. But Joe Montana was known as Joe Cool, came in the clutch, and he did so to a large degree against a very good Bengals team. That 1998 Bengals team, one of the better teams not to win a Super Bowl. So San Francisco winning that Super Bowl, Super Bowl 23, that is the 9th greatest Super Bowl of all time. At number 8, we now go back to the 21st century, the first Super Bowl of the 21st century. It is the Los Angeles Rams beating the Tennessee Titans 23-16 in Super Bowl 34. Super Bowl 34, January 30th, 2000, by the way, the 8th greatest Super Bowl of all time, and here is why. So it was the greatest, underdog Super Bowl maybe ever, because you have the Tennessee Titans, who are this new expansion team. They relocated from being the Houston Oilers. They became the Tennessee Titans. They had this magical playoff run. They had the Music City Miracle in the wild card round against Buffalo. Steve McNair, the late Steve McNair, God rest his soul, got to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. Then you have the Rams team led by this quarterback who was bagging groceries years before in Kurt Warner, wins MVP his first year, gets the Rams to the Super Bowl in the 1999 season. They go on to beat the Tennessee Titans in what's one of the greatest endings in Super Bowl history, with the guy with the Tennessee wide receiver, I'm forgetting his name, it's not coming to my mind right now, being tackled at the 1-yard line to save the game. It's probably the greatest tackle in the history of the Super Bowl, although there's one coming later that it could be argued might have been better. But it was a phenomenal ending. Kurt Warner threw the game-winning touchdown toward the end of the fourth quarter to put the Rams up 23-16. The tackle at the 1-yard line sealed the win for good. And the Tennessee Titans have not been able to get to a Super Bowl since. The Rams have since been to 2 and won one since. The Rams beating the Titans. Super Bowl 34, the 8th greatest Super Bowl of all time. If we can load number 7, that would be great. Looks like we're having some trouble technical-wise getting number 7 on there. So do we have it right here? Okay. At number 7, the 7th greatest Super Bowl of all time. Let's pull it up right here. It is Super Bowl 57, our most recent Super Bowl, where the Kansas City City Chiefs beat the Philadelphia Eagles 38-35 on February 12th, 2023. Super Bowl 57, the seventh, a little repetitive there, greatest Super Bowl of all time, and here's why. So Kansas City had won a Super Bowl in 2019, the 2019 season. Philadelphia, 2 seasons removed from a 4-win year, comes back in 2022, has the best defense of all time in terms of sacking the quarterback. Jalen Hurts finished second for MVP that year to Patrick Mahomes, to the doubted Kansas City Chiefs, who were home underdogs the week before in the AFC title game, traded Tyreek Hill to get better defensively, and this was a shootout. And this was a situation where Mahomes, to this point, it's been the defining moment of his career. There's been plenty of great ones where Patrick Mahomes is already dealing with an injured ankle, re-aggravated it in the first half of this football game, comes back in the second half, down 10 points, leads the Chiefs to a comeback, has a near-perfect passer rating in the second half. Chiefs go down, Mahomes on a bad ankle, runs them down into field goal range. Harrison Butker kicks the game-winning field goal to win it for the Chiefs, 38-35. Jalen Hurts had a phenomenal game. I believe he accounted for 4 touchdowns on the afternoon in Arizona. It was a phenomenal football game. It was everything that we hoped it would be, and then some. And let's be honest, we were kind of happy to see Philadelphia crash and burn when the lights got the brightest. Everybody except for Jalen, though. Jalen was fantastic in that game. That game's why I still kind of believe in Jalen, although we'll see what happens in the future of Philadelphia. Super Bowl 57, the 7th greatest Super Bowl of all time. At number 6, this one kicked off a dynasty. Super Bowl 36, where the New England Patriots beat the St. Louis Rams at the time, 20-17 on February 3rd, 2002. Super Bowl 36, the 6th greatest Super Bowl of all time, and here's why. So, maybe the most ironic Super Bowl of all time, because this was billed as the game that would kick off a dynasty. Because the Rams, as detailed earlier, had just won Super Bowl 34 over Tennessee, came back 2 years later. Kurt Warner won league MVP, the greatest show on turf. Marshall Faulk and obviously Kurt Warner leading the ship, and Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce, all these dudes on offense. One of the greatest offenses we've ever seen in our lives. And the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick, probably his best defensive performance as a head coach, holds the Rams to 17 points in the Superdome in New Orleans. As it turns out, that game did kick off a dynasty. It just wasn't the Rams. It was the double-digit underdog New England Patriots, led by the 6th-round kid out of Michigan. Maybe you've heard of him. His name's Tom Brady, who played kind of average in that game. But when money was on the line, about a minute to go, leads the Patriots down the field. The greatest kicker ever, Adam Vinatieri, hits the walk-off, or certainly the clutchest kicker, Adam Vinatieri, hits the walk-off field goal to win it for New England. That would be their first of 6 Super Bowls in the 21st century. They were able to beat the Rams, who it took them a couple decades to get back to the Super Bowl, obviously with a very different cast of characters. Super Bowl 36 is the 6th greatest Super Bowl of all time. Do we have number 5 on the list? It does not appear that we have number 5 on the list. If we can pull this up super fly fast. Okay, we've got it right here. At number 5, the 5th greatest Super Bowl of all time is Super Bowl 52, where the Philadelphia Eagles beat the New England Patriots 41-33. High-scoring affair on February 4th, 2018. Super Bowl 52, the 5th greatest Super Bowl of all time, and here is why. So, oftentimes great Super Bowls tend to have great moments, great plays that we look back and we remember it in like one line. Like if somebody tells you, Eagles fan or not, somebody says Philly special, you know exactly what they're talking about. Maybe the gutsiest call in Super Bowl history, where the Eagles, big underdogs, backup quarterback Nick Foles, taking on the defending champion New England Patriots. Tom Brady had won league MVP, his last league MVP at age 40. And they're facing the Patriots. They're up 15-12 late in the first half. They got a 4th and goal from the 1-yard line. Not only does Doug Peterson decide to go for it, he says, here's what we're going to do. We're going to snap the football to our running back. He's going to toss it to our backup tight end, who's going to then throw it to our quarterback. And the play was executed to perfection in Minneapolis. It was really a catalyst of what got the Philadelphia Eagles over the top. Nick Foles ended up leading a game-winning drive in the 4th quarter with throwing a touchdown pass to Zach Ertz. It was the greatest effort from a quarterback I've ever seen in a Super Bowl loss. Tom Brady throwing for over 500 yards, 3 touchdowns, had 1 costly turnover at the end on the strip sack by Brandon Graham, recovered by a Tennessee guy, go Vols, Derek Barnett. and the Philadelphia Eagles, and what was I was a Cowboys fan at the time, one of the most miserable Super Bowls I've ever watched. The Eagles were able to pull out of that game 41-33 and win the franchise's first ever title. Super Bowl 52, the fifth greatest Super Bowl of all time. At number 4, it is the New York Giants beating the New England Patriots in the first go-around, Super Bowl 42, 17-14 on February 3rd, 2008. Super Bowl 42, the fourth greatest Super Bowl of all time, and here's why. Man, the storylines were rich with this one. You had for the New England Patriots a team attempting to be the first ever to go 19-0, 16-0 the regular season, won their 2 playoff games with one of the greatest offenses we've ever seen. MVP of the league, Tom Brady, who broke the record at the time for most touchdown passes in a season. Randy Moss, who broke the record in 2007 for most touchdown catches in a single season. It was one of the most unstoppable offenses with a great defense that we've ever seen in the history of the NFL. They go 18-0. They're massive favorites in this game against the New York Giants. And one of the great stories in Super Bowl history was when I believe it was Plaxico Burress who talked about, he predicted obviously the Giants to win, wide receiver for the Giants. Predicted the Giants to win the football game. I think he said something like the Patriots would score 17, 20 points, something like that. Tom Brady was asked about it during that week, and he famously said, we're only going to score, it was either 17 or 20. We're only going to score 17 or 20, whatever Plaxico Burress suggested. As it turns out, Tommy actually got less than that. He only got 14 points, and a touchdown pass from Brady to Moss put the Patriots up late in the game, 14-10 with 2 minutes and change to go. And Michael Strahan, who that ended up being the final game of a great Hall of Fame career, followed by obviously another great Hall of Fame career in television. But Michael Strahan tells the Giants offense on the sideline before they come out for their last drive, Giants win 17-14. Believe it, and it will happen. And sure enough, Eli Manning leads the Giants. And that play highlighted by maybe the greatest catch in Super Bowl history, the helmet catch by David Tyree over Rodney Harrison on 3rd and long, by the way, where Eli Manning breaks out of a sack. Looks like it's going to be 4th and a mile. He just throws up a prayer in the air. Here comes David Tyree. Basically, it's like the football's glued onto his helmet, pins it against his head. Couple plays later, Eli Manning throws the game-winning touchdown to Plaxico Burress to win the Super Bowl for the Giants. It was their 3rd title in franchise history, and they ended the Patriots' hopes of a perfect season. Super Bowl 42, the 4th greatest Super Bowl of all time. At number 3, undeniably, nobody would argue this, the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history, Super Bowl 51, where the New England Patriots beat the Atlanta Falcons 34-28, February 5th, 2017. Super Bowl 51, the 3rd greatest Super Bowl of all time, and here is why. So, I mean, it's self-explanatory at this point, right? If you didn't watch the game, I'm sorry to hear that. New England, 14-2 during the regular season. Tom Brady, 4-game suspension, one of the worst biggest sham 4-game suspensions I've seen in my life for Deflategate. Here comes Atlanta. Kind of an underdog story, right? Young defense, young coach Dan Quinn. Matt Ryan wins MVP. It's a lot of great storylines in Houston, Texas, and the Falcons jumped all over the New England Patriots. They at one point had a pick 6 toward the end of the first half on Tom Brady. They're up 28-3 with about 2 minutes and change. As late as 2 minutes and change left in the 3rd quarter, the Patriots go down, get a touchdown to James White, 28-9. They go down, get a field goal by Steven Kostowski, 28-12. After a forced fumble by Dante Hightower, they get a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. The touchdown was caught by Danny Amendola, 28-20. After a series of penalties knocked the Falcons out of field goal range their next drive, Brady leads the Patriots on a long drive to tie the game. James White punches in the touchdown, and I think Amendola got the 2-point conversion, 28-28, and the Patriots won the coin toss. At that point, even Falcons knew what was going to happen. Boom, 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 boom. James White scores a touchdown at the end of the game to win it for New England in what was the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. To that point, the record for comebacks was 10 points in the Super Bowl. Brady and the Patriots more than doubled it to 25 points. They did so all in about a 17-minute stretch to tie the game and obviously won it in overtime. It's the crowning achievement of Tom Brady's career. It's what cemented him as the greatest quarterback of all time, gave him his 5th Super Bowl title. The tandem between him and Belichick got number 5 as well. One of the craziest sequences I've ever seen. I woke up the next day. I'll never forget. I didn't think I'd just seen what I just saw, but it was the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. Super Bowl 51, the 3rd greatest Super Bowl of all time. At number 2, it involves my team. I just wasn't a fan of them at this particular juncture in time. The Pittsburgh Steelers beating the Arizona Cardinals 27-23 in Super Bowl 43, February 1st, 2009. Super Bowl 43, the second greatest Super Bowl of all time, and here is why. So, man, this is a good one. Where you had five-time champion Pittsburgh Steelers, no-time champion, no-time Super Bowl appearance team in the Arizona Cardinals, who historically have been kind of a national joke, but they bring in Kurt Warner, who ends up winning the starting job from Matt Leinart over the course of that season and previous seasons, leads the Cardinals to the Super Bowl. Larry Fitzgerald, one of the greatest receivers in the modern era, has a great postseason. Pittsburgh, great defense, has this great run, gets to the Super Bowl. The best play, there's a lot of great plays in this game. You could talk about the Fitzgerald long touchdown that put the Cardinals up with about 2-3 minutes to go. You can talk about the San Antonio Holmes game-winning touchdown catch, the greatest, as Nate Burleson would say it, toe-drag swag in Super Bowl history in the back corner of the end zone to win it for Pittsburgh. For my money, it's the James Harrison full length of the field, pick six. End of the first half, Cardinals are driving, opportunity to go up on Pittsburgh. Kurt Warner throws a pick to defensive lineman, outside linebacker James Harrison, who's built like a truck, for crying out loud, literally to this day. You should watch his workout videos, are insanity. And James Harrison not only gets the pick, which takes 7 points away from Arizona, but returns it 99 yards to the house to give the Steelers another 7 points. Is really like one of the only 14-point plays in Super Bowl history to a certain degree. That's what catapulted the Steelers. Of course, you had the game-winning drive, Ben Roethlisberger to Santonio Holmes for the Steelers to win Super Bowl 43. Kurt Warner, that ended up being his final Super Bowl. He retired a couple of years after that. Larry Fitzgerald didn't get that many postseason opportunities after that. That's why you never know. When you get to the Super Bowl, you got to capitalize on your moment because you never know when or if you could get back. Super Bowl 43, the second greatest Super Bowl of all time. That leaves at number one, my favorite Super Bowl I've ever watched in my life. It has yet to be surpassed. Maybe Chiefs-Niners does it this year. We'll see. At number one, Super Bowl 49 on February 1st, 2015. Where the New England Patriots beat the Seattle Seahawks 28-24. Super Bowl 49, the greatest Super Bowl of all time, and here is why. So, listen, that in almost a similar way as Super Bowl 36, the Patriots' first title in the Brady Belichick era, was like a game, again, similar. It was like, okay, Seattle's going to kick off their dynasty. They had been the defending Super Bowl champions the year before in 2013. They'd waxed the Broncos and Peyton Manning. Here they come, Legion of Boom, beat up Legion of Boom, but still, Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, Bobby Wagner, all those dudes on that Seattle defense. Offensively, beast mode, Marshawn Lynch, Russell Wilson had a good season that year. Pete Carroll done a great job, as he often does. New England got into the Super Bowl. They had started off 2-2. There was the whole thing, hey, will the Patriots bench Tom Brady for Jimmy Garoppolo? Belichick snickered at that question, would go on to say in another press conference, we're on to Cincinnati, and the Patriots ended up going on to the Super Bowl. They trailed by double digits in the fourth quarter to Seattle, 24-14. Brady led a touchdown drive to cut it to 3. Touchdown pass to Julian Edelman. Led another drive, which ended up being the game-winning drive with 2 minutes and change to Julian Edelman. But that wasn't it. Seahawks go down the field. It's aided by one of the wildest catches you'll ever see by Jermaine Kearse, number 15 for Seattle. They run the ball with Marshawn Lynch down to the 1-yard line, and then maybe the most infamous play in Super Bowl history happens, the most shocking play, Patriots fan, Seahawks fan, or otherwise, in Super Bowl history. The Seahawks do not give the ball to beast mode at the 1 on 2nd and goal. Russell Wilson throws what was a good throw and a well-executed play by Seattle to Ricardo Lockett, the Seahawks receiver, and this kid, undrafted rookie free agent by the name of Malcolm Butler, steps in, picks off the pass. There's a story about how he learned that pass was coming that is worth your attention. I think it was in some Patriots documentary, Do Your Job, back in the day. Butler picks off the pass at the 1. The Patriots win the game. It ends up being Brady's fourth ring of his career, 3rd Super Bowl MVP. It vanquishes any hope of a dynasty in Seattle. It actually continued the dynasty for the New England Patriots. That was one of the great moments in the history of sports, was the pick at the 1-yard line, depending on your point of view. Certainly if you're a Seahawks fan, you don't feel that way. But there you go, Super Bowl 49, the greatest Super Bowl of all time. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.